So can we understand a little bit about how that process works and
Sure.
what is required to get residency?
Absolutely. Residency is a two-part process, okay? Now, I want to clarify that there are many countries where you can enter the Dominican Republic with a tourist card. Now, a tourist card allows you a 30-day stay, and you do have the option of extending that to up to 120 days with a simple process that can be done online on the Immigration Department's platform. But if you're looking to obtain residency, you must go through a visa process. Now, what is that? A visa is an entry document, folks. And I want to say that again, an entry document, because in many countries, people can live and reside on a visa, but not in the DR. The visa is the first step in the residency process, okay? Unless it's a business visa for business people who come and go and have no intent to live, then you get a 1-year visa or a student visa. But for residency purposes, for those who are looking to live here, relocate here, we have to start with a visa. Now, that process starts in the Dominican consulate in the respective countries. So a process is done, a file is deposited with that consulate in that country once the visa is approved. And I want to clarify, consulates do not approve visa, folks. They are just the receivers of a file. They represent the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in that country. So the approval of a visa comes from a State Department known as the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which is the entity that supervises all of the consulates around the world. So basically, they receive a file. Once they see the file meets standards, they will now send the file digitally to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Their consular department will now evaluate the file and either issue a denial or issue an approval. They advise the consulate, who in turn advises us, and that's when we either send the passport or an appointment is made for the foreigner to come in. Now, once that visa is issued onto the passport, you have 60 days to enter the country. It's an entry document, folks. So the only purpose of that visa is for you to enter the country with permission to now proceed to the residency, a part of the process. The residency is handled by the Dominican Immigration Department, Dirección General de Migración, okay? A separate entity. Now, among the documents that must be provided for a residency process in that file, copy of the visa. Do you see why you got to go through that first? They want to see a copy of the visa.
So we got to get it.
That's it. And I want to say something. There are many countries around the world that are allowing to do this virtually. What does that mean? U.S. citizens, Canadians, some European countries, Latin American countries. If people are already living here, they're giving the option of doing the visa process while they're here. So what does this mean? We can get all the documents together, send them digitally to the consulate. The consulate will do the process. The payment is transferred via bank or whatever. And then once the visa is approved, the passport can be mailed in or overnighted into the consulate. The visa is stamped, and then they'll overnight it back to our office. This is a tendency here that always needs to be addressed. You have people that, since the DR is so lax about, enforcing laws, especially immigration, people have the tendency of just overstaying, living here. And then when they leave the country, they pay an exit fine, okay? Problem with that is that the DR is known for changing directions from Friday afternoon to a Monday morning without prior warning. So if at some point they choose to enforce what the law establishes, guess what's going to happen? And this happened back in 2017. People who had the tendency to overstay were not being allowed back in unless they came in with a residency visa. Now, it caused such an upheaval that they briefly went back. But here again, folks, everyone, and I've said this before, every director comes, with their own vision. When I became a resident, we didn't need a visa. You just came in and you got a file together and you deposited immigration and you got your residency. Now, as of 2013, a director came in and says, no. The law talks about a visa. We're doing it. So that part of the law was brought into effect 2013. Before that, you could just come into the country with a tourist card and apply for residency. And then I see these expat communities. Is this true? Is this happening? Did it happen to anyone? Let me give you a piece of advice coming from an attorney, okay? The only way you can live in a country peacefully is if you are adhering to what the law establishes. People who are here legally don't care what's going on out there, what's happening, what the trend is. They're following the law. They're respecting it. So they can sleep at night. They bring whatever change you want. Ain't affecting me. You follow me? So important. Now, once you get that visa, you enter the country. Listen, that's the purpose of the visa. That's it. So people are sitting there, but I got a visa. Should I show it? No, you show it at the airport when you enter the country. And once they stamp the entry, the purpose of the visa was met. Now, that stamp that they place, the entry stamp and the visa, forms part of your residency file. Okay? Now, when they come to apply for residency, most of the documents are similar, the basis, like your income, your birth certificate, whatever, the police clearance, but there are other documents that need to be added, right? Now, once I have a complete file, that is sent, uploaded to immigration's digital platform, and then they will evaluate. If everything is okay, then they will authorize for you to have a medical appointment. Why a medical appointment? I have people that get so annoyed at that. Listen, first of all, that medical appointment is not to address medical issues, high blood pressure, hypertension, diabetes, none of that. The purpose of that medical exam is to screen. What are they screening for? Well, they want to check for communicable diseases, HIV, hepatitis, tuberculosis, things that are transmittable. They're also screening for traces of illicit drug use. Folks, let me just tell you something right now. This is a small country. If it were not for that screening process, these diseases, which are treatable and seem like nothing, could reach pandemic proportions in no time at all and become a real problem. Now, what is this medical appointment comprised of? Well, you're going to get a blood test, you're going to get a urine test, a chest x-ray, and obviously they do, a medical history and a physical examination. So if you're on any medication, important to mention to the doctor that you take meds. Why is this important? Pain medications are based on opiates. That's right. So I've had people with chronic arthritis, they recently had surgery, and they have a prescription for strong meds. Problem is that when the pain gets bad, they get a little bit pill happy. What happens to the level of opiates in the bloodstream? It goes up.
And the test goes ding, ding, ding.
That is correct. And then I get a notice saying, hey.
Ding, ding, ding.
And I'm like, what? So we got to get a pop urine test. We got to do that. So now once that medical is done, immigration is going to do an internal process. Basically, they're going to do an international search with Interpol and different, authorities back in the country where you're from here to make sure that you're not, a wanted criminal or something, or there's, pending legal action against you. And that part could take maybe a couple of months. Now, once that's done, depending on the type of residency that you apply for, you get an appointment. Comes digital to the digital platform. And you can either make that appointment or reschedule it, okay? So there's the layout of the actual process for you. And on the same day that you get your residency, you get what is known as a cedula, which is a state ID. Now, I just want to say that here, most of what you're going to do is going to just require that cedula. They're going to ask for a cedula. The residency card is more for border use. When you leave the country, instead of the cedula, you're showing the residency card, right? But here in country, it's the cedula that you're going to use the most.
Right, and the cedula is just an ID card.
That's what it
That's an
is.
ID card,
That's what
yes.
it is.
Okay.
Showing that you have. And if you are foreigner, it says no vota, meaning you don't vote. And it's greenish because the Dominican cedula is like kind of orangey. So yeah.
You know, I haven't noticed that.